Hey everybody, engagement approach to planning. The engagement approach to planning, we continue the conversation. Now whether it's you as the community builder or one of your direct reports that's leading some kind of a planning dialogue where you're gathering input from stakeholders, internally or externally, to help you build effective plans. If you're engaging them to help you to build that great plan, we've talked about room setup, but what do I say? Questions, right? You're asking questions. So I want to go through various kinds of questions and maybe some examples. Obviously, in the email, there's more detail. So what are some of the kind of questions that you could ask? First, focus questions. Identify a situation or the key fact needed to understand the issue. Focus questions. What do you think about blank? Or how has this situation impacted you personally? What are you most concerned about in your department? Focus questions. Those help you gather broad information. Observation questions. They're concerned with that one sees and the information they've heard. What do they see and what do they heard? So those observation questions do well in round table meetings where we're gathering information. What have you heard or read about this situation? What are people saying out there? Who do you trust that's been telling you about this and why? What effect does this situation have? What effects of this situation have you noticed? What do you know for sure? And what is just vague to you? Or what are you uncertain of? Now what's funny about that final question, when you ask, what do you know for sure about this? You as an executive leader or you as a leader, when they give you misinformation and they say they know it for sure, you know you got a major red flag there, right? You start to be able to focus the energies. If this is some kind of feedback gathering, right? Those observation questions can be very effectively used in feedback gathering. Analysis questions. That's pretty simple. That's as simple as, what do you think about blank? What are the reasons for blank? What's the relationship of and to? Those help you better understand people's perspectives. Feeling questions. Feeling questions. How do people feel? Their emotions, their sensations, or their perspective of how their mental health is impacted. Now, some people are going to share a lot and some people are going to share a little. How do you feel about the situation? How has the situation affected you mentally? Whatever. Then there's visioning questions. These are the kind of questions that you might do when you're developing action plans or strategies, or when you're building next year's goals for that group or for the department. Visioning questions. What would you like it to be? Now that sounds really simple, but we rarely ask that question. We'll listen to all kinds of feedback, but we rarely say, tell me what you'd like it to be like. When I'm interacting with somebody one-on-one, I can say, how would you like to be supervised? How would you like to be led? What would you like it to be like? What is the meaning of this situation in your own life? Now you might rephrase that, but basically you're saying, what's relevant to you? Those are visioning questions. And they're concerned with identifying ideals, dreams, and values, because that's what really makes people go. Change questions. What will it take to bring this current situation towards that ideal you've just stated? What exactly needs to change here? What are the changes that you've seen and read about? How might these changes come about? How can you make a difference? How did these changes come about? Talking about how do we get from a situation to a worse situation or whatever. Now, why are those change questions so important? Because you're establishing expectation. You're establishing expectation, and we're moving towards that ownership that we've talked about in this whole engagement planning as one of the residual benefits. How about this? Consider the alternative kind of questions. Such questions examine alternatives that arise from the vision and the ways things could change. So in other words, implying there's many different ways to reach a goal. What are all the ways you think that we could do this? How could we reach this goal? What are some other ways? Be sure to tell me if other ideas come up. Again, we're planting the seeds of potential alternatives. I talked to you about brainstorming. I call it tapping into collective intelligence. All of these questions help you, but they need to be used at the appropriate time in the appropriate place. How about considering the consequences kind of questions? What would be the effect of using runoff water for X, Y, and Z if we were in a public meeting, right? What would be the effect if we did blank? You're gauging, you're better understanding by lifting out the consequences via questioning. And then considering the obstacles. Especially when we're putting together effective action plans, we need to consider the obstacles. What would need to change in order for the alternative to be done, or a alternative to be done? What keeps us from doing this? I like this one. Why would we fail? Why would this plan that we just put together, why would it fail? What prevents us from getting this done? How about this? What would prevent you from giving your best to this plan? Each alternative has inherent impediments to achievement, right? Focusing on the obstacles is an important first step to removing them. So these are just some questions. When used appropriately, questioning can get us to our desired outcome of using the planning process to engage stakeholders, to buy in, be a part, and then execute. And in addition, proper questioning gets us the relevant operational, vocational, and meaningful information we need to build solid plans. Think about the questions you use. They're important. Thank you, everybody.